Imagine you are 7 hours into a long flight, halfway across the Pacific Ocean. You're floating 35,000 feet above the Bering Sea, one of the most remote places on Earth. There is nothing below you but ice-cold water. There is nothing around you but the endless blue sky. Suddenly, without any warning, the world turns on its side. A violent, sickening lurch slams the aircraft into a steep bank. Loose items fly across the cabin. Passengers are pinned to their seats. For a terrifying moment, the mighty jumbo jet is no longer a graceful vessel. It is a runaway machine. The plane hasn't vanished from radar. But in that moment, for the pilots fighting in the cockpit, and for the 404 souls on board, the airplane they knew has disappeared. And in its place is a ghost they cannot control. This is the true story of the flight that was lost over the ocean, and how its crew wrestled it back from the void. October 9th, 2002. Northwest Airlines Flight 85, a massive Boeing 747-400, is on its routine journey from Detroit to Tokyo. In command is Captain Frank Geib, an experienced veteran. He and his crew are responsible for 386 passengers and 18 crew members. The flight is perfectly normal. For hours, the Queen of the Skies performs flawlessly. But deep within the tail of the aircraft, a tiny, invisible crack in a piece of metal is growing, a fatigue fracture, waiting for the right moment to fail. And over the Bering Sea, that moment arrives. Without warning, the lower rudder of the aircraft, a critical control surface for steering, slams hard to the left. It's not a gentle movement. It's a violent, full deflection. The pilots feel it as a massive jolt. The autopilot disconnects with a scream. Captain Geib grabs the controls, but they are useless. The yoke is completely unresponsive. The plane is flying on its own, and it is trying to roll over. The pilots are now in a desperate fight. Using every ounce of their strength, they manage to use the ailerons on the wings to counteract the bank. But the plane is fundamentally broken. It enters a terrifying cycle known as a phugoid oscillation. It banks hard to the left. Then, as the pilots correct, it lurches violently back to the right. It's a sickening, gut-wrenching sway that will not stop. They are no longer flying an airplane. They are riding a bucking bronco. They have lost control. They are thousands of miles from their destination and thousands of miles from where they started. They have disappeared into a pilot's worst nightmare. In the cabin, the flight attendants, led by Senior Purser Jack Kress, perform heroically. They move through the cabin, calming terrified passengers, securing the galley, and preparing for the worst, all while the floor beneath them sways like a ship in a storm. What do you think is the most terrifying part of this ordeal? The sudden lurch or the hours of uncertainty that followed? Let us know in the comments. In the cockpit, desperation turns to ingenuity. Captain Geib and his first officer, Mike Fagan, know they cannot fly the plane with the primary controls. They are out of options, and then they remember a tragedy. They remember the story of United Airlines Flight 232, the DC-10 that lost all its hydraulics and crashed in Sioux City in 1989. The crew of that flight had attempted something unheard of. They tried to steer the plane by using only the engine throttles. They had 4 engines on their 747. It was their only hope. This is the moment the airplane starts to come back. The crew begins a painstaking process of trial and error. They discover that by increasing the power on the right side engines and decreasing it on the left, they can create a gentle turn to the left, counteracting the stuck rudder. By doing the opposite, they can bring the nose back to the right. It's called differential thrust. It's like trying to steer a canoe by paddling harder on one side. It is a crude, clumsy, and exhausting way to fly. If this kind of incredible aviation story fascinates you, hit that like button. Their destination of Tokyo is out of the question. They need to land, and they need to land now. They turn the crippled giant north, towards the closest viable runway, Ted Stevens International Airport in Anchorage, Alaska. It's still hours away. For the next 2 hours, the crew wrestles with the beast. Every moment is one of intense concentration. They cannot relax. A tiny mistake with the throttles could send the plane back into an uncontrollable bank. They are flying a 400-ton machine by hand, using a technique they have never been trained for, all while knowing that a safe landing is far from guaranteed. As they approach Anchorage, The final terrifying challenge looms. Landing. On the ground, emergency crews are scrambling. The airport is on full alert. They know a crippled 747 is coming in. The pilots have to guide this massive, unstable jet onto a narrow strip of concrete using only engine power. The margin for error is 0. Too much power and they'll overshoot. Too little and they'll stall and crash. Captain Geib is at the controls. He is using the throttles for steering while First Officer Fagan uses the yoke to control the wings. They are a team, working in perfect synchrony. They approach the runway, the plane still swaying, fighting them every step of the way. They cross the threshold. The throttles come to idle. With a plume of smoke from the tires, the massive jet touches down. The crew uses reverse thrust and the one working rudder to keep it on the center line. The plane slows and safely comes to a stop. They have done it. They have brought the plane back. Inside the cabin, a wave of relief and applause erupts. Every single one of the 404 people on board is safe. The investigation later found that a fatigue crack in the cast metal housing of the lower rudder's power control module was the cause. The part had simply broken apart mid-flight. The ordeal of Flight 85 was not just a story of survival, it became a catalyst for change. The NTSB immediately issued an emergency airworthiness directive, ordering the inspection of the entire global fleet of 747s. Because of what happened to Flight 85, this failure would never happen again. The story of the airplane that disappeared over the ocean and came back is not a tale of the supernatural. It's a story about something far more powerful: human courage, teamwork, and ingenuity in the face of catastrophic failure. It's a testament to the idea that even when the most advanced technology breaks, the human element can still be the one thing that brings everyone home. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more stories from the sky.